everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 3 tips for tomorrow's racing, where I'll be focusing on the action from Taunton. Now, before we get stuck into them, quickly just want to reflect on how our 3 tips performed today. In the end, it wasn't a bad day on the YouTube channel as we came up with a nap winner. We put up Scottish Accent at 10-3 and he was finally able to break his maiden tag over fences for Nathan Mosscrop and Becky Menzies, so I hope some of you were able to back in there. Also as well, our Longshot ran a good race today, got a bit of place money there, where we put up Bavalion Bay for Amy Murphy and Jack Quinlan, making his handicap debut. I thought he ran really well for a long way, but just bumped into a couple of useful rivals, so I think he did really well, and he's one to still keep in the notebook for future races. The other tip, Hold Back the River, he was the disappointment. He drifted really markedly before the off. We actually put him up, I think, at 5-2 last night, and he drifted out to around about 6 or 7-1, I think, before the off, and in the end it was really disappointing. Was quite slow at some of his jumps, and in the end he couldn't cope with the quality of the race. It was really disappointing in the end from him. So yeah, all in all, it was a good day with our nap winner and our long shot place, and hopefully we can build upon that and find some more winners at Taunton tomorrow. So let's get into it then, the 3 tips for tomorrow's racing. And we're going to be starting off with my next best, which runs in the 2 o'clock with a horse called Avoir des Soins. Avoir des Soins, I think that's how you pronounce it. My French isn't very good, but you can currently back this horse at 4-1 at the time recording, and I'm going to recommend a 1-point win bet as my next best of the day for Rex Dingle and Anthony Honeyball. Now, we haven't seen this horse for a little while. He was last seen in November when he finished 4th at Lingfield over an inadequate trip that day. He was running over 2 miles, which was probably on the short side for him, as he's shown some good form beforehand when he won on his penultimate start at Lingfield over 2.5 miles, and that trip just seemed to really suit him that day. And like I said, I just think the drop back last time didn't play to his strengths, and he's going to be going back up in trip tomorrow to 2.5 miles, which I think will really suit him. Also as well, he's quite an unexposed type. He is only a 7-year-old, he's a son of Fleming's Firth, and you think he'll improve with age. Also as well, the ground shouldn't be a problem for him. He won on testing conditions at Lingfield, and it's going to be heavy ground at Taunton tomorrow, so that shouldn't pose a problem for him. Also as well, he's trained by Anthony Honeyball, and his yard haven't been going too badly of late. They've had a couple of winners operating at a 22% strike rate, even though that is from a small sample, but the yard are going okay, and I think this horse has a lot more to offer. I thought the Evan Williams priced favourite, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but I thought he was quite short really in my liking, and I think there's more to come with this horse, Avoir des Soins, over staying trips. He's actually got 3 miles in his pedigree related to quite a few of them, so I think that bodes well for tomorrow. And for me, I think he's the one that's on an upward curve, and he could be one to follow. So he is going to be my next best of the day tomorrow in the 2 o'clock at Taunton. We then go to the feature race of the day at Taunton for my nap in the 2:30, where I'm going with a horse here called King Roland for Harry Fry and John Joe O'Neill Jr. You can currently back this horse at 5-2 at the time recording, and I'm going to recommend a 1-point win bet here. Now this horse, it might be a little bit disconcerting for some of you that Harry Fry hasn't had a winner in the last few weeks. His stable have been running below par, but I think his stable could turn around any minute. You know, they were doing well a little bit earlier in this season, and I think this horse, King Roland, has a really good chance tomorrow. Now, he hasn't been seen since he finished 3rd on his chase debut at Uttoxeter, but to be fair, that race turned out quite well in the end, despite him being a short price favourite for the race. But I think going back over hurdles isn't a bad move, and I think he's got a fairly workable mark of 140. Now, if you go back through some of his hurdle form, it reads really well. He actually finished 2nd in a Grade 2 over 2.5 miles at the Cheltenham Trials meeting at there last year in January, where he finished 2nd behind Harry Senior. Now, he was a strong travelling type that day who looked like he had the race at his mercy, but he just didn't quite see out the trip. He just didn't have the turn of foot. But I think over 2 miles in a race of this nature, it could really suit him tomorrow. You're going to have quite a few front runners in here. You're going to have the likes of Totterdown. You'll have Victor Dartnell's horse likes to be handy. Picdory likes to be handy too. A couple of others as well that like to be prominent. It could just set up really nicely for him, and I could see him being dropped in. And if they do go quick, I think that's really going to suit him, because I could see him coming there on the bridles tomorrow, travelling really well, and then being asked by John Joe to go and win his race. And if he does have enough under the bonnet, I think he can do it. And like I said, I think off a mark of 140, that's a very workable mark in my opinion, because he never really was highly tested last season over hurdles. We've always known he's a good horse. He was a very good bump horse the Harry Fry, but he's still very lightly raced and still very unexposed in my opinion. So off a marker of 140 tomorrow, I think he'll get the job done, and fingers crossed he can give us a winning nap there in the feature event at Taunton. We then stay at Taunton for the final selection of the day, which is going to be an extra tip in the end. This horse has actually been smashed in the betting in the last couple of hours. When I was looking at this horse earlier, it was actually available at 10-1, but at the current time of recording, it's available at 13-2, and I'm going to put this one up as an extra tip tomorrow. That's Sound of Music for Paddy Brennan and Noel Williams. At the current time of recording, it's like I said, it's available at 13-2 with William Hill, who are offering 5 places on the race, and I'm going to recommend a 0 point each way selection here. Now this horse, so I've actually been keeping an eye out recently on some of her starts. She's been running in novice company, but I've been waiting for her to go into a handicap over a really testing, staying trip, because to me, she has shown a lot of ability, but she just looks like a stare who's been getting outpaced, but then has been sticking to her task well, and she's been running in some decent novice events. Her 6th place effort at Newbury isn't a bad run. That was won by Phil Hobbs' mare, who you can put a line through her last run in the Grade 2 Jane Seymour novice hurdle there. But if you look at other mares in that race, you had Aurelia Orr, who looked like she was going to hose up last week at Hereford, who's rated 116. And Sound of Music for her handicap debut tomorrow has been given a mark of 93, which I think is fairly workable. Also as well, in this mare's race, it's a fairly weak race, but Sound of Music is very unexposed and has a lot going for her in my opinion. And like I said, if you go back and watch her races, I think she just wants an out-and-out stamina test, and hopefully she will be getting that tomorrow. The heavy ground shouldn't pose a problem, and if you look at the pedigree too, when it comes to that slogging contest, she's got plenty of 3 milers in her pedigree, so I think there's quite a lot in her favour tomorrow, and I think at 13-2 that is still a fairly workable price, but I'd recommend an each way selection on her. Like I said, a 0.5 each way tip. But yeah, I think Sound of Music has a very good chance of making the frame tomorrow, and I'd be disappointed if she didn't relish going up in trip, so she's going to be my extra tip of the day. So quickly then, just run through the 3 tips then. The 2 o'clock at Taunton sees the next best with a horse called Avoir de Soins, 4-1 win only bet. In the 2:30 at Taunton, King Roland, 5-2 1 point win only bet. And then in the 3:40 at Taunton, we go Sound of Music, 13-2 0.5 each way, 5 places William Hill, and that rounds off the 3 tips for tomorrow's racing. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe here to my YouTube channel at LuckyLoader15. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's the best place to do so on social media, where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website address is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please game responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.